Bitcoin has finally decided to take a turn to the downside. Elon Musk has lost a lot of money today, as well as liquidations across the DeFi sector, as well as over-leveraged traders on exchanges. And the Bitfinex Tether debacle has now ended in a settlement. I'll also be checking in on the price action of Bitcoin, as well as Ethereum. Let's get into it. First up, we've got New York Attorney General's $850 million probe of Bitfinex Tether ends in an $18.5 million settlement. In a closely watched case with wide-ranging implications for the crypto market, Tether has admitted no wrongdoing and will provide reports on the USDT's reserve composition for 2 years. A closely watched legal case involving Bitfinex and Tether with major implications for the cryptocurrency industry has been resolved. The New York Attorney General Office, NYAG, has settled with Bitfinex over a 22-month inquiry into whether the cryptocurrency exchange sought to cover up the loss of $850 million in customer and corporate funds held by the payment processor. The NYAG's office announced the settlement Tuesday, formally ending the inquiry that kicked off in April 2019. Under the terms of the settlement, Bitfinex and Tether will admit no wrongdoing, but will pay $18.5 million and provide quarterly reports describing the composition of Tether's reserves for the next 2 years. More significantly, these reports will match information Tether already provided the NYAG about its reserves. The NYAG will bring no charges as part of the settlement. Very interesting outcome over that debacle. Next up, Elon Musk loses $15 billion in a day after Bitcoin warning. Elon Musk is no longer the world's richest person after Tesla's shares slid 8.6% on Monday, wiping $15.2 billion from his net worth. Tesla's decline was fueled in part by Musk's comments over the weekend that the prices of Bitcoin and smaller rival Ether do seem high. His message on Twitter came 2 weeks after Tesla announced it had added $1.5 billion in Bitcoin to its balance sheet. DeFi lending platforms liquidate record $115 million in loans as ETH price drops. A record high $115 million in decentralized finance lending positions were wiped out Tuesday, after the price of Ether continued to correct as low as $1,406 on Tuesday. The cryptocurrency has shed 9% in the past 24 hours. Compound Finance saw the largest number of liquidated positions, with 86 million or 75% of the total liquidations coming from that platform, according to data provided by DBank. MakerDAO followed in a distant second with some 10 million in liquidations, or 8% of the total. Aave V1 and V2 combined for a total of 13 million or 11% in liquidations. Pro traders went long as Bitcoin fell to 45K, liquidating 5.9 billion in futures. Data shows up, pro traders opened new leveraged long positions even as Bitcoin's price dropped to 45,000, and 5.9 billion in futures contracts were liquidated. In the past 48 hours, Bitcoin's price has dropped by 13,360 and more than 2.6 billion worth of futures contracts have been liquidated. When including altcoins, the total sum of liquidations equaled to 5.9 billion. After making record high open interest at 19.5 billion on February 21st, the metric has stabilized at 16.5 billion. This means that half of the terminated leveraged positions have been reopened. According to the top traders, long to short data, and various funding rate indicators, retail traders took the largest hit. So certainly no shortage of carnage in the crypto sector. Now the question is, has a midterm correction now been initiated? Let's get into the charts. Bitcoin up on the daily chart, and Bitcoin continuing its move to the downside, being down about 12.5% at the time of recording. I see that Bitcoin is coming into contact with the 21 exponential moving average, and that moving average is coming in around $47,830. If Bitcoin manages to close the daily candle body below that 21, then likely continuation to the downside could be the name of the game. If that happens, I'll be looking down towards the 30 simple moving average, coming in around 42,978, and more importantly, this purple box liquid zone. This purple box liquid zone has a top side coming in around $42,038 and a bottom side coming in around $40,602. I see just down below that is the 55 exponential moving average, and that is living around $39,958, and it'll be very interesting to see how price action interacts with that level if and when it gets down there. Looking at the volume coming in is very convincing as it is increasing as price action continues its move to the downside. It's also getting above the moving average as well as wiping out the last several days of volume read. Quickly toggling out to a weekly, the weekly looking a little unhealthy right now as well as this candle body is living below this one and so far shaping up to be a bearish engulfing candle. However, it's very premature to be calling such things as the trading week still has 5 days remaining. Now, when I quickly look left at the 2017 below off top here, you see that Bitcoin did ultimately reach for that 10 simple moving average noted by this wick here. before catching its bounce back to the upside. And it is important to note that the 10 simple moving average on the weekly is coming in around $39,100. So it'll be interesting to see how price action interacts with that level if Bitcoin decides to keep this dump going, as there is some confluence between the weekly chart here. You can see lots of wicks and support coming into this area, as well as confluence with the daily chart. So that will be interesting to see. If Bitcoin manages to hold the 21 exponential moving average, it'd be nice to see Bitcoin start to form a base here on the daily. However, I'm perfectly fine if the daily wants to come down to this liquid zone, base out along there, along that 55 before marching its way up higher. If you look left, you see that the last time Bitcoin stuck in a higher low was around that 55 and on that former liquid zone. So as far as I'm concerned, that could potentially even be a buy opportunity, and perhaps where this correction ends up bottoming out. But of course, I'll be assessing price action when it gets back down there. For Bitcoin to be moving back to the upside, first step is closing those daily candle bodies above the 21, grinding its way back up to this horizontal here, coming in around 50,714. If Bitcoin manages to start closing daily candle bodies above that horizontal there and continues its upwards trajectory, then I would ultimately like to see it test this liquid zone found at the all-time high. It has a bottom side coming in around 57,676 and a top side coming in around 58,577. If Bitcoin is able to start closing daily candle bodies back up above that liquid zone over time, I don't care if that happens in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or after a significant correction here, that's when I'll be looking for the next leg to the upside. Dropping down to the daily momentum oscillators, obviously looking beat up here as the RSI is just very quickly losing the bullish control zone, leaving that exponential moving average with a fairly negative slope to the downside. Stochastics firing off a fresh cross to the downside and looking to cool off, still in the bullish control zone, but the way that they're falling, likely to lose the bullish control zone as well. MACD firing off a bearish signal here, unconfirmed as the trading day still has 5 hours remaining, but likely this is to confirm, and we're seeing our first bar of negative momentum show up on the histogram. So overall, sellers very present, sellers very strong here, and at the very least, it seems probable that Bitcoin is going to play out a greater correction. That maybe takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to play out, but of course, conditions are in place, and as I've got my conditions for the downside and my conditions for the upside, and I'll just be looking to those conditions to be met for me to formulate my short, midterm, and long-term bias. Ethereum up on the daily chart, and Ethereum getting beat up a little bit more than Bitcoin, which is par for the course when Bitcoin decides to take a dump. Ethereum down about 15.5% at the time of recording, and I see a little bit more damage going on here than I do on the Bitcoin chart. I see that Ethereum has already shredded the 10, 21, and 30. However, the daily candle body has not closed yet, and that's in 5 hours, but it's looking probable that it will close below those 3 moving averages. I see that it's already tested this purple box liquid zone that has a top side coming in around 1,481 and a bottom side coming in around 1,395. It's notable that the green 55 exponential moving average is living dead center of that liquidity zone, so there's a fair bit of confluence present here, so it is interesting to watch as the buyers and sellers interact with this area. I also see that the volume, it looks very similar to Bitcoin as it increases as price action moves to the downside, getting above the moving average, as well as wiping out the last several days of volume reads. So overall, a very convincing move to the downside. If Ethereum manages to close daily candle bodies below the bottom side of this liquid zone, coming in at 1,388, then I think further damage will be done to this chart. Perhaps a move down to the 89 exponential moving average here that is coming in around 1,232, and there's also a fairly significant horizontal below that at $1,214. So my eyes will be on that area if this dumping continues. Now, if Ethereum manages to hold this purple box liquid zone, I will overall look at that as a good thing, as the former resistance becoming future support, and it would be nice to see Ethereum manage to grind out that level and then work its way back up above these notable moving averages here. But Ethereum certainly has its work cut out for it at this point in time, as a lot of selling pressure is still very present as the bears shove this thing to the downside. If Ethereum is able to get a nice bounce here, which isn't looking probable at this time, but it could happen, and if it does, I'd like to see Ethereum get back up above that 21 exponential moving average, and that is coming in around $1,734. Doesn't seem like a probable scenario at this point in time, but these possibilities are always looming, and I like to keep them on my radar so that I at least have a plan in place if Ethereum manages to get back up above that. If it does, then maybe over time it looks to retest the all-time high here, and we'll quickly map a liquid zone to be paying attention to. So this new liquid zone added to my chart as a bottom side coming in around $1,960 and a top side coming in around $2,039. If Ethereum ends up getting some daily candle body closures over time up above those levels, then Ethereum would likely be ready for its next major leg to the upside. I know that doesn't seem very probable right now, and I would tend to agree with that, but it's good to keep these areas on our chart as possibilities, as price action can do whatever it wants, and we just want to look for the high probable, statistically probable scenarios and have a plan, and even for those possible scenarios, So overall, that's what I'm seeing on the daily with Ethereum. Let's go out to the weekly here. Yeah, weekly looking not so great either, but I am seeing some weekly confluence here with this purple box zone. And actually, this zone is coming in around 1,479 as a top side, and a bottom side coming in around 1,390. And I see that Ethereum has already tested the 10 simple moving average on the weekly, and as you can see, it actually hasn't closed a weekly candle body below that 10 simple moving average in a very, very long time. So, seeing this bounce come in isn't necessarily unusual. The week still has 5 days remaining, of course, and we're gonna have to pay attention to this. But if the weekly manages to close below, let's just put horizontal. That's kind of a little. Let's put it right there. If this weekly manages to close below 1,612, then there's likely a top stuck in place here. Looking down on the RSI, yep, that would also confirm some bearish divergence on the weekly RSI, which is not a very good look. I see the exponential moving average is getting back into the bullish control zone from the overbought zone, as the weekly RSI is just flying to the downside at the time of recording. Stochastic's firing off a fresh cross to the downside, so adding some confluence between the price structure here as well as the RSI, and the MACD losing a lot of momentum on the histogram here. So it's going to be an interesting week for Ethereum. I'm going to want to see how this weekly candle body closure comes in, but if this higher time frame manages to confirm that bearish divergence on this weekly candle body closure, then perhaps Ethereum is going to get ready to play out a much greater correction, perhaps down to the 21, coming in around $1,074, and we'll probably get likely that over time it would test this liquid zone here, coming in around at $987 for a top side, and a bottom side coming in around $911. And I would really like to see Ethereum form a base along there. Of course, now we're looking at the weekly chart. This could take some time to play out if sellers continue to drive prices to the downside. So overall, that's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Things are looking like they want some more downside action, but of course, let's keep our eyes on those candle body closures, because it's no fun getting wicked out on these kinds of moves. Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. I hope you're all doing well out there. I hope this isn't beating you guys up too bad. Congratulations to anybody who took profits before this dump came in, and congratulations to anybody catching a nice short to the downside as well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and until then, have yourselves a powerful day.